Welcome, my friends, to another YouTube version of the BJJ Brick podcast. I hope you enjoy the show, and if you do, please subscribe to the channel. So here we go.
Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to episode 169 of the BJJ Brick podcast. Only 31 more episodes to the historic number 200. I'm Gary, and I'm here with Byron. How are you doing today, Byron?
Gary, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm just doing incredible, and you want to know why?
Yes, I do want to know why.
We have James Clingerman on today. James is an incredible BJJ black belt. If you heard me talk last week at the end of the show, a guy that I've never trained with, but he has really influenced my game. I used to watch videos back in the day and really helped my Peruvian necktie, and probably a lot of my training partners back in the day probably hated James Clingerman because I'd always watch his Peruvian necktie videos and learn how to do it, and he really helped my game. So when I heard you were having an interview with him, I was like, I can't wait. This is awesome. So he is one of my jiu-jitsu heroes.
There we go. And also he shares we talk a lot about jiu-jitsu, training ideas, how to train by watching a DVD, because not everybody knows how to do that. And that's a thing that's often overlooked. Idea. And also he shares a story when he got shot in the face.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
It's an amazing story, and how it's affected his life, and how he got back on the mats, and how jiu-jitsu has been good for him. And it happened a while ago, but just kind of to have somebody with that sort of a story, his level of jiu-jitsu, you definitely want to learn about him. And we're very grateful that he's willing to share that with us today during this interview.
Boy, yeah, I didn't know about that. That's a crazy tragedy right there.
You were a little surprised on that one, Gary.
Yeah, I was. I actually dropped a bad word where we try to keep this PG.
Oh well, if that's the worst thing you say this month, I think we'll be in good shape. If in order to keep us in good shape, we occasionally need to raise a little bit of funds for the show. And one of the ways we do that is with the audiobook, and it's really geared towards helping people in their first year of jiu-jitsu. So if you qualify in that category, you might be interested in spending $11.99 and listening to a guy like me really walk you through all the hurdles and what to expect and some of the best techniques for new people in jiu-jitsu. It's 2.5 hours long. And really want you to get off to a great start in jiu-jitsu. So even if you've been going for a few months already, or a little while, or maybe you're thinking about starting, this book might be great for you. And I think one of the most valuable chapters is when I break down what techniques are good to learn. Because when you start jiu-jitsu, classes aren't meant for necessarily your first day of jiu-jitsu. You're not going to day one jiu-jitsu. You're going to, somebody's day, 409 and somebody else's day 30, and it's your day one, and you're all in there trying to figure out jiu-jitsu together. Where when I talk about these techniques, I really try to get you to understand a couple of things before you even walk in, to where that these techniques are, able to be picked up by you, and you're able to hit the ground running, or at least rolling. And
hit the ground rolling.
Hit the ground rolling, Gary. You want to, like jumping out of a moving car. That's what you got to do in jiu-jitsu. You got to hit the ground rolling. And just so you don't get distracted with things that aren't really going to work for you. Because there's nothing more frustrating to be a new person, learn a very fancy technique, not even know it's a very fancy technique, and then it never works for you. And it's just like, well, I didn't learn anything that lesson, and I've been trying this for 2 weeks, and I still have not even got close. Well, unfortunately, the whole classroom full of people, only you were the new person, and the technique might have been taught very well to everybody else, but you kind of fell victim to just being a new person. And this book, I hope, really helps get past that, and it helps you, the technique portion helps you decide which techniques are going to be good for you, from which positions you want to work from the most. And it takes away some of that frustration that none of this works on my opponents, none of this works on my training partners. That's the goal with that chapter anyway, Gary.
Yep. Hey, and another way to help your game is listen to us every week. And we're not 100% devoted to just talking about techniques and stuff, but our articles of the week and our interviews are definitely going to help your jiu-jitsu journey and stuff we discuss. So to make sure you do not miss an episode, get on our email list. We have a link to it on the show notes. We just need your email list, and each and every week the link to the show will show up in your inbox, so that way you'll never miss an episode. It's kind of like a lot of people give that out for Christmas. It's kind of like if you've ever watched Christmas Vacation. Is kind of like the Jelly of the Month Club that Clark got from his boss. This is the gift that keeps on giving, and it's, you can just put it in somebody's, make sure they get it to their inbox, and each and every week you'll get it. So we hope you enjoy it.
I like compared it to the Jelly of the Month Club. I love that movie, Gary. It's been a favorite in my family since I was a kid.
It's a 1-year membership in the Jelly of the Month Club.
Oh, God.
Clark, that's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
That it is, Edward. That it is indeed.
I thought your favorite was The Big Lebowski.
No, as an adult.
As an adult. Okay.
As a kid, I don't know if it's my favorite movie, but all my siblings like it. It's rare to find a movie that both my sisters and my brother enjoy. Yeah. And it's about Christmas, so that time of year is always fun. And just to watch Chevy Chase kind of go through his terrible Christmas events and with the ups and the downs of it, it's a funny movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a little past Christmas time, but it'll still be funny any time of year.
Yeah, definitely watch it. Christmas Vacation.
The whole year round. Gary, a little bit different for the quotes today.
I think we should have some funny quotes going this week.
I like that idea. We found an article, whatever, on the Sportster.com. And I was looking for kind of a funny sports quote, and I just found there's 25 of them here. I don't think we'll cover all of them, but there's probably a little less to learn from them, and more just to kind of enjoy people's fumbles as they go. But maybe we can, if we really extract a little bit of lessons from some of these. Bobby Robson, who evidently is a legend in English football, once said that talking about his opponents, we didn't underestimate them. They were a lot better than we thought. And that's the definition of underestimating somebody. But I know I've underestimated competitors before. As a blue belt, they threw in a purple belt in my division because he had nobody to compete with. This is back in the day when purple belts were very rare. And he showed up. He drove several hundred miles, and there was no purple belts to compete with at any weight class. He was in my weight. Do you mind if there's a purple belt in your division? I looked at him. He was 17 or 18, scrawny. I was scrawny too, but he was a lot taller than me, and he cleaned up the division. So I definitely underestimated him, but that was one time that happened to me. Gary, do you have some quotes you'd like to read on here?
There's a good one right here by Frank Gifford. Pro football is like nuclear warfare. There are no winners, only survivors. I thought that was great. Pro football, you're getting beat up each and every week. It's a tough sport. Your team may win the game, but you're taking a beating. So you're kind of survivor, I guess, is what he's trying to say.
Sherman Douglas has one. He's a basketball player back in the
Sherman
late
Douglas
80s.
Was the man. He played at my college. That was my favorite team. I used to love watching him at Syracuse University.
Oh, well, he has a nice quote that you'll love and probably be able to explain. Sherman once said, "I don't want to shoot my mouth in my foot, but those are games we could win." I don't really know what that means at all, but that's funny.
Yeah, I have no clue.
You hear about putting your foot in your mouth when you say something that you probably shouldn't have said, or you talk about shooting yourself in the foot. When you do something kind of stupid.
I think you get it all backwards. Tim Sylvia, which I think most of you guys will know, former UFC champion, he said, "I'm the oldest I've ever been right now." That's truthful.
That actually has some truth to it. So if you're wanting to start jiu-jitsu but you feel like you're too old, you're the oldest you've been ever, but you're also the youngest you're ever gonna be. So why not start it now versus wait a year when you're another year older?
Yeah, definitely.
This one I don't think it has any sense at all. Charles Shackelford, another basketball guy, really nailed it when he's talking about being able to go right. He said, I can go right and I can go left. I'm amphibious. And a lot of us in jiu-jitsu are not amphibious at all. We have one side, we don't have that ambidextrous quality to where we could use both of our hands and legs the same way. But I like the amphibious switch there. I'm going to try to use that myself.
Ambidextrous. I actually use that all the time. And I always quote Charles Shackelford when I do it. I know that one. There's another great one here by Bob Varsha. I guess he's a racer there. He said, drivers have one foot on the brake, one on the clutch, and one on the throttle. And that just makes me think of jiu-jitsu. You imagine if we had 3 feet, how much better at jiu-jitsu I would be? So that's kind of what I think about that. Or it could go the other way. I could get, leg locked, 33% more. Or actually, that'd be 50% more. See, I was off. 50% more with an extra leg.
Yeah. Not a problem with you, Gary, I guess. Not the extra leg there. We'll leave that one to the ones who could actually understand that one. Jason Kidd, who I guess is a coach for NBA. I'm terrible at knowing people other than people who do jiu-jitsu or
Jason
grappling.
Kidd is like one of the best point guards ever to play in the NBA, and now he's a coach. This is when he was a coach.
He I guess he got to a team and he said, we're going to turn this team around 360 degrees. So if you're facing the wrong way, you're headed down the wrong path, and you do a 360, you continue to maintain the course
same path.
as you were previously. I think you could pull that one off in a meeting with business associates. We're going to turn this around 360. We're going to make a big change. Of course, the right thing to say would 180 degrees, where you're actually turning, going the opposite direction. But he said it wrong, and a lot of times people don't catch that one, I think.
Yep. We got another great one from a great running back, George Rogers. He said, I want to rush for 1,000 yards or 1,500 yards, whichever comes first. I think he might have had a little bit of trouble in math class.
Yeah, that's I could predict which one would come first. And
yeah, it's definitely going to be hard to get 1,500 before 1,000.
Karl Malone, moving down the list here, Karl Malone said a good one. I don't know. Somebody was trying to pin something on him and make something, make an example out of him. I don't know. But he said, I ain't going to be no scapegoat. And the term is scapegoat, somebody that you kind of pin things on and use it as a negative thing. He said, scapegoat. I think there should be a way to escape, maybe side control or back position, called the goat. And that way you could have a scapegoat. I don't know what it would be. Maybe you kind of let out a little "meh" as you do it. But there should be an scapegoat escape in jiu-jitsu. That would be phenomenal. Get to working on that, guys. We'll put that along with the Mississippi Leg Hound. That is like that's the top when you're passing guard and you're able to get that knee bar on somebody. As you're still on top, I call that the Mississippi Leg Hound. So
I call it the dog bar.
That's what everybody else calls it, but I like the Leg Hound.
Yeah. We got another good one from another great basketball player and now a coach, Doug Collins. He said, anytime Detroit scores more than 100 points and holds the other team below 100 points, they almost always win.
Almost always.
Almost always. I don't know how you'd lose, but I guess there must be a way.
Yeah, same in jiu-jitsu. This is an easy parallel. If you're able to outscore your opponent and not get submitted, you're almost always going to win that match, Gary.
Yeah, almost. Yep, almost always.
And if you submit your opponent with a legal submission, majority of the time, you'll win. That's a way that you could usually pull off a victory, is to do that.
Usually.
We'll put a link to this one on the show notes. Yeah, it's a little different. We maybe didn't learn as much from the quote, but it's hard. As podcasters, Gary, we're constantly just talking into microphones, and I'm sure we've said some stupid things over the years. And occasionally they'll make the highlight reel in the the bloopers. But you got to be amphibious sometimes, and be able to look at lots of quotes like that.
Yeah, but the good thing is, we are amphibious, and that's what counts.
So, a lot more fun ones to read. We didn't cover them all, but
I think we should talk about our article of the week. This week, we have another one from one of our favorite guests that we've had on a couple times, and John Will. And this is from John Will's blog, BJJ-Australia.blogspot.com, and we'll put a link to it on the notes. But as you remember, John, he's a 5th degree black belt, and just his blog is just incredible. He's just got really good stuff. And I was looking today, trying to find a article, and I always forget about John's blog a lot of times, and when I'm looking for something, I'll always go to his blog, and something will just pop up and just hit me like a brick, like a BJJ brick. But his article this week is All or Nothing, and he starts talking about how athletes, we have that all or nothing attitude. It's we've got to do it all, or nothing. It's like basically saying, if I can't climb to the mountain, climb to the top of the mountain, I'm not going to go to the mountain. If I fell off my diet this week, I'm not going to bother with it come Monday. I'm just going to keep eating. And that really is not a great attitude, great way to do things. And he said this type of thinking restricts us. It holds us back. We're never going to get better. I mean, think if we want to be mountain climbers, and not all the time are we going to climb that mountain the first time. We may have to turn back due to we don't have the technical skills to climb this part of the mountain, but then we'll go back down, we'll learn some more. We're not going to quit. Then next time we go up, we make it past that technical part. We get to another, let's say an ice fall. We don't know how to climb an ice fall. We turn back around. We learn how to climb an ice fall. We get past that first technical part. We summit a little bit more. We get to an ice fall. We get our axe out. We climb that ice fall, and pretty soon we summit that mountain. And it's not easy, but it's a lot more fulfilling that we kept working. We kept increasing our knowledge. We didn't stop. And if everything, just fell into place, life's going to throw us obstacles. If everything just was easy and we could do it without any problem, we wouldn't have as much satisfaction. That hard work that we have to do to perform this task is going to lead to immense satisfaction.
Gary, I was in the Caribbean, I guess a couple of years ago, and we were there with some relatives, a couple aunts of my wife's, and we went on a hike, and it was a pretty hard hike, but we were going to go up a mountain, and eventually the hike became too difficult for my relatives to continue. My wife and I were able to go on, and we up this mountain, and we got up there, and it was a beautiful view of the inside of a volcano. It was dormant, and there was lush vegetation, and just a cool, they call it a salad bowl. It was very pretty. But them not actually finishing the hike, them not being able to go all the way to that, and it's not like we're going to try it again. It's over. But they enjoyed the hike. They do what you can do. It's better for them to go that that first 3 miles and get an amazing hike on this lush mountain and volcano, I guess, not a mountain, and just have that experience than to just, well, I can't get to the very end, and I'm not going to do it. And so, maybe you'll never climb the top of the mountain, but there's sure great reasons to go and check it out, and to get some of that mountain experience. I think the diet is a great one that he mentions about getting back on track. You know what? You're going to be on a diet. There'll be a time when you kind of fall off that diet, whether it's, you're stuck at work and there's nothing to eat except for this, and it was kind of a bad situation, but you have to eat that. You just need to have that in the idea, get back on track. That should be like your diet should be. I think if you kind of picture your diet as a train, if you get a little off track, you're going to get back on track as soon as possible. Maybe some family thing is going on, some situation with stress and something, and your diet's messed up for a whole week. You're not able to cook, you're not able to prepare meals or eat healthy. Well, as soon as you're able to, you get in that train back on track, and you're going to keep going straight forward there. So I think the idea of picturing like a little train about your diet, and if it gets off track a little bit, you're not going to derail the entire train and have a big accident. You're going to get back on track, get going the way you were, and just keep chugging along, and the long-term benefits will be there. even with a couple of short-term mistakes or things that happen negative against your goal, of your diet or of your climbing a mountain or whatever you have going on. And jiu-jitsu is a common one. So you miss a week, that's okay. Come back and train. If you miss a month, work really picked up this month, that the guys that I was competitive with now, I'm sure they'll be beating me. That's okay. It doesn't really matter. Get back on track. Get back in the gym. Get back on the mats and get training again. It doesn't matter if you miss a little bit of time. Long term, 4 years down the road, you missing that month means nothing. Even 6 months down the road, you'll be back on track. You'll be going full steam ahead. And I know people miss time and then they just feel like they lost it. Nope. Picture that train, get back on track and keep going, Gary.
Yep. So when life throws you a curveball, do not do a complete 360 and keep heading down the wrong derailment. Get back on that track. And it's like John says, it'll lead to more joy, success, and fulfillment that we all want in our life. So definitely, we're going to get off track every now and then. Make sure you get back on track as quick as possible. And just keep going down that track, just like the little train that just said, choo-choo.
All right. I like the sound effects there, Gary.
I figured you'd like that.
Always good to have John Wills on the show or just an article. Some of his interviews are definitely fan favorites.
Yep, and definitely, like we said, check out his blog, and we'll put a link to it.
Gary, we have delayed long enough. I think it's time to get to our interview with James Clingerman.
Let's roll it.
He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
When he is training and nature calls, a horse comes to see him. If you take his back, you might notice him holding up a little rearview mirror. Objects in his mirror are just as close as they appear. He has never needed to remove clothing just to make weight, but he does anyway.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJ Brick podcast. Stay sweaty, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring James Clingerman to the BJJ Brick podcast. James, we've got a lot to talk about today. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to have you on the show.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, we've got a variety of topics, but can you just maybe give us a little introduction about who you are and what you've been doing on the mat?
Yeah. I'll go short, and then if you want to expand on anything, we can do that as well.
Cool.
But yeah, my name's James Clingerman. I'm a third-degree black belt. I actually just received my third degree October of this year, and I've been teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for almost 17 years now. So March of 2017, my academy will have been open for 17 years. I'm here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I've competed a little bit here and there all over the U.S., and that's pretty much it. My wife's been a huge part of the academy's success, and we also run the Extreme Grappling Open. We've got a little online store, the Fight Hub, where we drop ship other companies' gear, and also we produce a couple of our own DVDs and video products and stuff like that.
Cool. And could you maybe to help us kind of figure out the Fight Hub, what are some of the more popular or common DVDs that you've got through there?
Well, most recently we released the Hinger Teen, which is Josh Hinger. He's an Atos black belt, and just actually, fortunately for us, a week after we released the DVD, he won No-Gi Worlds, beat some phenomenal guys using the Hinger Teen. But he won the middle heavy adult black belt division, and he's actually a master's middleweight, so he went up a weight and down in age, and just man, I'm so proud of that kid. Man, his performance was amazing. But yeah, so the Hinger Teen, some of mine that I put out personally were the Von Flue choke, mastering the Von Flue choke, Peruvian dozen, and then we also worked with another Atos black belt, Tim Sled, put out his leg drag DVD, which was actually really, really successful. It was the first like leg drag instructional out anywhere. And then another world champion friend of mine, Tom McMahon, he put out a Wrist Locks for the Win DVD. He's a big guy and he's big on wrist locks, and so we threw a couple really good detailed wrist locks together, and yeah, so all that's going pretty well.
Cool. How did you get started with producing DVDs and instructional videos?
That's a good question. I don't know. I have no clue. No, I was actually sitting down thinking about this last night, and I was like, how did I start doing that? And, I can't remember. So I'll give you 3 examples, and I can't remember which one came first. So long time ago, I decided I was going to put this little YouTube series together, and it was going to be like, 7 kickboxing techniques and 7 wrestling techniques and 7 sweeps from guard and 7 submissions from guard, and this and this. And so I filmed this big series that I was just going to put on YouTube, and it ended up, I turned it into a DVD called The 7 Essentials. So it's 7 different positions. Each position has 7 moves, and then we did 7 combinations of those 7 moves. And it was a huge hit. Like, people loved it, and it was filmed on an old junky camera, and like the quality's not very good. And like one time I had it playing, and I realized, like, there was some really bad outtakes that didn't get edited out and stuff like that. And then the other 2 that, so the very first seminar I ever taught as a black belt, we filmed, and I put it together, and I think I put it together just as a DVD, kind of as a gift to give to the people that did the seminar. And then the third one was my friend Chris Lytle, big UFC star. He actually came to my academy, and he taught a kind of a fundamental workshop on mixed martial arts. He did some striking to clinch to takedown, and then a little bit of like his grappling style. And we filmed that, made that into a DVD. He autographed the first 100, and we sold that. So somewhere in there, in those 3, I can't remember which one was first, but I was like, you know what? If I just put a little website up, I could sell these to people, and they might like it. And yeah, so it just kind of started with like 1, maybe 2 DVDs, and then 3, and then I was like, man, there's something to this thing, and so I was like, yeah, let's see what we can do. And oftentimes the DVD idea would just come from like my Peruvian dozen, for example. One of my guys asked me one day, he said, hey, I'm having trouble with the Peruvian necktie. What do you do off of that if you don't get it? So I showed him how to do it, showed him like 2 or 3 follow-ups, and then I was like, man, I've got a couple more. And so I just started writing them down, and I had 12 that I did. And I was like, that Peruvian dozen, that's kind of cool. And I put it on YouTube, and it was something along the lines of like 300,000 views. And then I got a new camera, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this a DVD. And so I added like another like 13 or 14. So it was a Peruvian dozen 2.0. And I just started kind of going from that.
Cool. The Peruvian dozen, are those just kind of things that you would go for the Peruvian and kind of just, how else could I finish this? Or maybe it wouldn't, just like a follow-up, and then you kind of
exactly.
From there on, or?
So yeah, basically, so like, we start with the Peruvian necktie, a couple small variations, and then like, oh, he gets out, well, here's an arm bar, here's a triangle, oh, he rolls out, here's a rear triangle. A couple things like, I'm going for it, but he stops me, I'm not able to get it, what can I do from here? So, follow-ups, counters, things like that.
Cool. You've got, I urge everybody to go if they're looking for something learning material wise, go check out thefighthub.com, and there's lots to look at and to choose from. And I've been happy with everything I got from you so far, and
awesome.
Continue to learn through different people that, it's nice. Not everybody can come train with me, and but I could kind of peek at what they're doing and do a little training through a DVD or a video. So that makes it easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I always tell guys, like when I started, there were like 3 VHS tapes. That was it. And now you've got YouTube, and you've got all these like world champion black belts like sharing all their, their style, and it's really amazing just the amount of like access we have to world class jiu-jitsu now. And I think a part of what I like doing is showing guys, number one, techniques that aren't real super common, right? Like the Von Flue choke, for example. Jason Von Flue kind of made that famous, and I thought it was trash. I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. and I was like making fun of it, basically, and my guy tapped, and I'm like, what? And so I really broke it down and looked at it and kind of analyzed it, and I was like, holy crap. And I just made this entire system out of it. And it's actually like, even guys like Josh Hinger, I'm calling Josh out, like he doesn't really like to try to guillotine me because I can defend it. So, but I will say the Von Flue doesn't beat the Hinkertine. So there you go, Josh. I'm totally sure he'll listen to this. And then you've got guys like Tim Sled, phenomenal teacher, but he's not out there competing. The guy's a professional lawyer. He's a family man. But he's got some great techniques. He's very, very good at kind of relaying his message. And then so I like just kind of giving access to people everywhere in the world to these awesome guys that they can't train with, and sometimes that are great teachers that they've just never heard of.
Yeah, you don't have to be necessarily a world-class competitor to be a great teacher or instructor. Sometimes the two are opposites, some of these world-class competitors pick jiu-jitsu up so easily, and they have a hard time actually relaying, to normal people like me. I might be struggling with something, and so I think you've done a good job of finding people who are either both or just a great instructor. It definitely makes it easier to learn from.
Yeah, definitely.
You've had a few hurdles you've overcome, either off the mat or on the mat. Do you want to talk about a couple of those?
Sure. 20 years of grappling, where to start? First things first, I guess. Like, I've always been shy, is what they called it. I think today it would be classified as social anxiety disorder. Like, I even today I have trouble like going to the movies and just being around all those people. I get itchy. I'm like, bugs are crawling on me. It's not quite that bad, but like people hear me on podcasts or they see me teaching and stuff, and they're like, "There's no way you have social anxiety." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I can't." Like, it's hard. It's hard to function around a bunch of people. Like, you and I were discussing beforehand. I'm actually sitting in my sauna right now, like in the dark, away from everyone. So, when I was a kid, like there's no way in the world that anyone would have ever gotten me to take martial arts. Although I had an interest in martial arts as long as I can remember. Like, I always wanted to fight. I wanted to be a WWF wrestler before I realized it was fake. So, but yeah, and man, it went on forever, and just nobody knew, like, man, what's wrong with this kid? Like, why won't he go around people? And then when I was 13, my dad finally just dragged me into a karate school, and he signed me and my sister and himself up for karate, and we did it for about a year or two, and I wasn't real happy with the effectiveness of it all, and then finally he just quit. And when my dad quit, I had to quit too because I didn't have any way to get there. So it at least got me in that mode of, okay, this is something I really want, and I can go in there and I can do this, and so it at least broke that barrier for me, where I was like, okay, I want something, and I can put myself in the place to get it. Let's get it. So that kind of helped. And then when I was like 16, I started doing some judo and some fake jiu-jitsu, unfortunately. But
the fake jiu-jitsu, is that just the sign of the times? It wasn't really around.
So here's how this works. so it's technically it's this jiu-jitsu school, if you can call it that. It's this jiu-jitsu school here in Indianapolis. It's like the longest running traditional martial arts academy. And basically the guy moved from Korea. So he's a Korean guy who did judo. And he was a legit judo and taekwondo competitor in Korea. Moved here to the U.S., opened a Mexican restaurant. And then in 1964, when judo became an Olympic sport, he converted it into a judo academy. He got a karate guy to come in and teach karate. Actually, John Lennox, phenomenal, I think the highest ranking American Ishinryu practitioner. John died at 9th degree, I believe, maybe 10th. But just somewhere in there, he decided he was a jiu-jitsu master and started wearing the hakama, the Aikido skirt, and just started telling these stories about being jiu-jitsu. Huh. But so I went in my first day after seeing what was it? Oh, MTV Sports, right, with Dan Cortez. They showed highlights of Royce Gracie just smashing all these guys in UFC 1, and I was like, wow, I should learn some jiu-jitsu. So I lived right by this place. I went in one day, and he's like, oh, yeah, I trained with the Gracies. It's the same thing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And as we started talking, right off the bat, I'm asking him, what style of jiu-jitsu it is. And he's like, Japanese jiu-jitsu. I was like, well, what's, is it Ishinryu, Goju-ryu, I know Japanese arts have all these different styles. What is yours? He's like, Japanese jiu-jitsu. So that should have told me something right off the bat. And it kind of did, but, it was the only form of ground fighting at all. But so, yeah, basically this guy, he was a high-level judo taekwondo competitor, and for whatever reason decided that instead of just doing judo and taekwondo, he was going to lie and say he was a jiu-jitsu master. So,
yeah, that's weird.
It's really weird.
Did martial arts help you with your social anxiety?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So like I said, it was just the ability to actually get out in front of people. And at first I guess it was almost ego driven because I was good at it. I was good at karate when I did that. I was good at judo when I did that. I was good at jiu-jitsu, what I thought was jiu-jitsu. And I was just like, I liked fighting really, so I could get out there and do that. And then just kind of slowly, the instructors would always integrate the students into teaching and have them leading classes. And after a while, it became easy for me. So yeah, it definitely helps. I'm definitely a completely different person socially on a jiu-jitsu mat than I am, walking down through the mall or something,
yeah.
Where, but yeah, so oddly enough, I've always had this horrible fear of public speaking, and I've never been able to really do much as far as that goes. But my wife runs a marketing business where she coaches small to mid-size companies and everything from sales to their marketing structure and everything. And so I've actually gotten up and spoke at her meetings, and even we did a big conference recently where we had all kinds of speakers come in, and so I got to open that. And it's one of those things where I just I had to zone in and just be I'm teaching, and that's what it is. I'm just teaching jiu-jitsu, even though I was not teaching jiu-jitsu, but it's kind of that same mentality. I had to put myself in that same frame of mind.
Yeah, I think that would help you kind of. They're not looking at me. They're looking at somebody who's teaching them, and
exactly,
and that's what they're focused on. You also had a pretty big off the mat hurdle back in 2000. I believe you were a victim of a very violent crime.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, man. So, and I tell this story a lot, mainly because it's one of those crazy stories, and so yeah, in February of 2000, I was sitting at a stoplight leaving my apartment, and yeah, this guy just a car pulls up next to me, and just out of the corner of my eye, it looked like somebody waved at me. And so I kind of glanced over, and there's this guy in the passenger seat of this car, and he's like just losing his mind, flipping me off with both hands, cussing me out. And I was like, holy crap. And it's not like I cut the guy off in traffic or anything. You know, I had been sitting at this light for a while, the longest red light ever in the history of red lights. So I was just like, whatever, you know, and I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, man, I can kill this guy in 4 seconds. Like he's no threat to me at all. And I just kind of ignored him, but he's just going nuts and flipping me off and cussing me out. And so the way we were sitting, he was to my left, so out my driver's door. We were both making left-hand turns, right?
Okay.
And so his girlfriend who was driving, his pregnant girlfriend who was driving at the time, right? She pulls the car up, so we can't really see each other very well. Well, apparently at that point he pulled his gun out and pointed it at her and told her to back up. So obviously, you know, being pregnant and in a scared state of mind, she's going to do whatever he says. So she backed the car up, and I remember seeing this like silver and black 9mm come up, and he goes, well, are you afraid of this? And it was one of those things where like, I was like, oh, I got to get out of here. And so, you know, I checked my rear views and just made sure I wasn't going to run into anybody. And, cause I was going to continue straight, right, instead of turning left. And before I could even get my foot off the brake, it hit me. So yeah, I exploded my window. It hit me in my left cheekbone. And fortunately the bullet followed into my cheekbone and didn't hit anything vital. Missed my carotid artery by less than a centimeter. I am blind in my left eye. I have a lot of trouble with my left ear constantly. But actually, I think they have a technology that will fix my ear. So I'm hoping within the next 3 or 4 months, I'll be having surgery on that. So that would be great. But yeah, man, it's insane. I can't even explain the impact of it. It felt more like I don't know, like scanners, right? It felt like my head blew up, exploded outward. But it hit me hard enough. It pushed me into my passenger seat, which doesn't sound like a huge deal, except I was wearing my seatbelt.
Wow.
So the retractor, right? The thing that stops you when you're in a car accident.
Yeah.
It broke that.
Ooh.
And, so yeah, I was laying there and so I'm laying down at this point, completely blind, completely deaf. I just have this loud ringing, and I took about, I don't know, half a second to just go, I've got to go. Cause I don't, at that point I can't see, I can't hear. I'm like, man, I could have bullets whizzing by me and not know it. This guy could be walking up to finish me off. I've got to get out of here. So I just floored it, drove through the red light, and I'm blind, right? I'm blinking my eyes, trying to get some vision back, and I'm just honking my horn. But yeah, I drove up 2 blocks, and I ended up kind of clipping another car just a little bit. And at that point I was like, okay, I've driven a safe ways. My vision was kind of coming back in the one eye, and I was like, I hit somebody. So now there's some attention, right? So I throw my car into park, I get out, and the guy I had hit is already on his phone. And I was like, hey, call 911. I just got shot. And I go up, and I remember leaning on this guy's car, on his hood, and blood was pouring out of my head. I had a gallon of blood, and I was just throwing it. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh my God. And yeah, I thought I was dead. I was like, I'm dead. There's no way I don't die here. But I also thought, man, that's really rude. I'm bleeding a lot on this guy's car. So I'm going to go kneel down in the road. And so I kneel down, and as soon as I squat, I look up, and there's a cop walking up, and he hadn't seen me get shot, but he had seen me run into this guy. So instantly I go, some effer at that stoplight just shot me in the face. And he's like, give me your ID right now. And so, I just kind of chucked my wallet at him, and he's like, okay. And so he called it in, and I don't know how long I was there, but another officer arrives, and she's like, "You need to lay down." And I was like, "No." And she's like, "No, you need to lay down." And the original officer's like, "No, leave him be." I was like, "Look, I'm sitting here and I'm fine and I'm not dead. I'm not moving. Like, well, I'll move when the ambulance gets here." And ambulance got there. So keep in mind, it's February. It's freezing. I'm also on a bridge at this point, so it's extra freezing. So the ambulance gets there and they cut all my clothes off of me, like leave me laying on the concrete, my underwear, and they throw me in the ambulance, and like I was having a hard time holding consciousness. And I remember like looking at the paramedic, and I was like, "Man, I'm really tired." And he's like, "It's okay, man. You can go to sleep." I was like, let's all be clear here. I was like, if I close my eyes and I rest, am I going to wake up? And he's like, "Yeah, man, you're okay." I was like, "Okay, I'm going to ask twice because I don't want to die if I can help it." And he's like, "Look, you're going to be okay. You can go to sleep and you'll be all right." And I was like, "Okay." So after that, it was a series of just things I really don't remember. I remember waking up with like a heat towels on, and my dad and my sister and AJ, she's my wife now. She was my girlfriend at the time. They're all standing there like just trying to keep me warm because, I was frozen to the core and I'd lost so much blood. But yeah, fun times. It was good. Good night. Yeah.
Wow. A lot happened in just a few seconds, it seems like.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. And I will say, like, I 100% truly believe that jiu-jitsu got me through that night. You know what I mean? Like, I was able to make split-second decisions. I was able to not panic. I've been in physical pain before. I've been in, just – it was almost like trying to fight your way out of a submission. You can go, I'll just tap, or you can go, no, I'm gonna work my way out of this. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to lay here and die. Like, I'm going to do everything I can to – there was actually a point where when I decided, like, okay, I'm dead, I was like, I'm either dead or I have brain damage. So I started, like, doing math problems in my head, right? And then math problems led to, like, jiu-jitsu techniques. And then I was like, cool, my brain's working pretty well, so I'm probably going to bleed to death. That was my – that was my thought process at the time. But
James, you don't want to. Nobody wants to die doing math problems in their head. Stick with the jiu-jitsu. You got to make it a little exciting.
He died thinking about what he loves.
Did they find the guy? What was the deal?
Yeah. So number one, the guy was an idiot. In case you couldn't already tell. So he. I'm trying to think of how it all went down. So he had gone to a couple places that night, been drinking and stuff, gotten kicked out of a few places for being intoxicated, and I'm sure he was high as well. Like so his girlfriend drove him to their apartment. He called his mom or his stepmom, I don't remember, one of his motherly figures, and said, "Hey, I just shot someone." And she's like, "Okay, well, come here and turn yourself in." I think she just kind of wanted to, maybe make sure he didn't get killed or kill anyone else on, So his girlfriend gets back in the car, starts driving him up there, and he's like, "No, pull over at this bar." And she's like, "Cool, yeah, I'm done with you." So she dropped him off at this bar that apparently he used to work at. And he sits down at the bar and starts talking to this guy from out of town. And he's like handing this guy bullets and stuff while he's talking to him, right? Talking about how like short life is. So this guy's like, peeing his pants, just like, oh my God. I'm sitting there trying to have like one beer, and I've got this guy giving me bullets, talking about how life is precious and all this stuff. So, his girlfriend called the police immediately. It was like, hey, he's at this bar. Like, this is where he's sitting. So the cops came in actually very quietly. So obviously I wasn't there, but it's all what I heard. And they kind of started ushering people out. And then two cops walked up, snatched him up by the arms, and dragged him out, took him to jail. So I think we went to court maybe about a year later. So it was like a full year. And that was a terrible terrible experience just being in, I think it was my first time in court, but so they put me in this back room and they're like, yeah, we'll come get you when we want you. So I fall asleep. And the prosecuting attorney, she comes in, she wakes me up. I'm like asleep in this chair. She wakes me up and she says, let's go on in here. And so she opens the door and I take 2 steps and I'm like in the middle of the courtroom with all these people looking at me and I'm like almost completely asleep. I was like, oh crap. Wake up, wait. And like they take me from being asleep to 10 seconds later, I'm on the stand. Right. And I was like, whoa, like maybe a little more notice would have been good.
Yeah, the prosecutor could have prepped you a little bit better on that one.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa. So, they had me do the little swear in thing and I'm like, I'm still just trying to wake up. And then they're like, oh, hey, they asked me, is the person who shot you in the room? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't even think about that. So I start looking around and sure enough, that dude's like, I walked right by him. I was like, maybe it was better that I was asleep and missed that whole thing because it might not have gone that well.
Yeah.
But yeah, his defense attorney did a great job of convincing everyone that, it was a complete and total accident, that he didn't mean to shoot me and this and that, and had me believing it. I was like, oh, this poor guy, he accidentally shot me. Oh. But, finally, when all was said and done, like the last 2, the investigating officer and the forensics guy that basically, like, look, 100%, no way in the world did this gun accidentally go off. No way did he accidentally shoot anybody. And so I actually learned a lot about guns that day because I had never shot one at that point. Yeah, so he got convicted, found guilty. And then a few months later, we go for sentencing. So this guy was facing like 58 years, and he ended up getting 54 with no parole. So yeah, he's still in jail.
Yeah, that had been frustrating to hear the lawyer saying how it was an accident, and while you're sitting there, he shot you in the face from a car to another car.
Yeah, and that was a big part of it. They're like, hey, this is a kill shot. Like, you don't accidentally shoot somebody in the face.
Wow.
But it kind of gave me like an outlook on like these, these defense attorneys. Not to say they're all like this, but like it's kind of part of their job. The guy sits me down and interviews me and is just like, yeah, this scumbag, obviously he shot you. It wasn't a straight bullet. And, this guy's going away and he's a total turd. And basically, kind of like gave me this impression like I'm not even going to defend him properly. And then in the courtroom, like to sit there and listen to him, like try to get this guy off. I was like, holy crap, man, that like I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I couldn't do a job where I'm just all day, I'm sitting around like trying to get these like horrible, dirty, filthy, scummy human beings, like get them off of what they did,
Yeah. Wow, it's a whole different world. Hopefully, you won't have to get back in a similar situation ever again.
Never, ever.
Do you live in the same town that happened in?
Pretty much. So it happened north side Indy, and I live kind of south side now. So yeah, I haven't really moved too far. Like,
do you get weird feelings when you drive by, or is that kind of long enough to go?
No, it's one of those things where like every great once in a while I drive by that, and if there's somebody with me that has never been to that area, didn't know, I just go, that's where I was parked or that's where I was sitting when I got shot, But every once in a while, like I'll make a mental note. But I have driven, like, literally been sitting in that exact same lane and not even thought about it. Huh.
Is that a pretty rough part of town right there?
No, it's actually the really nice part of town. I'm like, man. Yeah, I got shot at like 91st in Allisonville, and everybody's like, what? It was like, or 86 in Allisonville, but yeah, it's like right by like the nice furniture store and the nice mall and like all the foo-foo shops, and it was like 8:30 on a Sunday night, like just so insanely random.
Wow, I don't want to keep on this too much longer, but just did he say anything to you, or did he have a response about why he was so upset, or anything at all to kind of explain what happened that night, or did he just get locked up and put away? You never heard anything?
He did say sorry. like really, really insincere.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like he was like laughing and stuff, like when they were taking him away, like, you know, like they're dragging this guy into an elevator to do 54 years in prison. And he's like laughing and like still kind of like thought it was funny that he shot somebody. You know what I mean? Like the total scumbag. So oddly enough, just to add to the story, I know we wanted to kind of move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the girl, his girlfriend who was driving, the pregnant one, a few years ago, my wife and I and a bunch of friends were at Indiana Beach, and I actually ran into her, and I met his unborn daughter, at the time daughter. I met his, like, she was, I think, 14 at the time. And, yeah, like she knows who her dad is, what he's done. She's never met him. But yeah, it was really, it's kind of surreal. It was weird, you know. I was just like, "Hi, I'm James." She's like, "I know. I'm glad you're okay." Like, you know, sweet little 14-year-old girl that, you know, is kind of oddly a product of that whole thing. It's weird.
Another, like a side victim of the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, she wasn't even born when it happened. Like, it was very strange. I didn't know how to I didn't know how to react to the whole thing. I was like, "Hi, nice meeting you. I'm glad you're normal."
Glad you're normal. Like you're doing good. Probably better without him in her life, though. Really.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. This you said you don't have any vision in your left eye, and you have problems with your hearing. How long did it take you to get back on the mats and get to training?
2 weeks.
Oh man.
So yeah, man, I was I've got so they never removed the bullet. They left it in there, which trips out anybody that does an X-ray or CT scan on me. But I've got 2 steel plates in my left cheek to kind of reconstruct that cheekbone. And so the bullet never actually touched my eye or anything. The damage is all just basically from the concussion of it all. It caused a lot of scar tissue, and like I've had several surgeries on my eye just to kind of keep it from whatever. Like they've closed holes and they've removed scar tissue and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it broke some bones like in my ear. And so my ear won't drain. So I basically have like a permanent tube, which apparently my body doesn't like. So like I just had surgery, just a few months back, and it was supposed to last me like 16 years, and it lasted under 2 months. Like I was literally like brushing my teeth one night, and I just feel it, and it just falls out. Yeah, so hopefully I'll get that fixed this year. They're doing some stuff where they take like I can't even remember the name right now, but they do it with like hearts, and they do it all kinds of different organs and stuff, where they take a little balloon, like a little tube with a balloon on it, and they kind of open it up and then cauterize it. And so I guess they just got approved for the surgery with ears. And so we're hoping that within the next like 3 or 4 months, I'll be able to get in there and get that done, and at least get that taken care of. Because like I have ear problems like 24/7, and if you've ever had a really deep itch in your ear, it's terrible. And so to just have that like all the time, it kind of drives you nuts. But
man, yeah, I can't imagine that. I guess getting back to jiu-jitsu for a little while.
Please
tell me a little bit about the game that you play, and maybe some of the techniques that you really like to focus on.
So I will say this, and this has been, I've gotten both sides from people. You know, people say, "Man, that's really great," and people say, "That's stupid." So, you know, they say like, you know, good wrestlers, like Olympic level wrestlers and judo guys have like 5 or 6 moves they're really good at. Like all these really great guys have these like games that they're just phenomenal with. And I don't. I personally, I don't believe in that. And not as a competitor, but as an instructor. My game changes constantly. I can tell you that my style of jiu-jitsu has changed probably 6 times, 7 times, like majorly since I've had a black belt, right? And the reason being is I like to be really familiar with a little bit of everything, at least understand the concepts and the basics. So I'm big on fundamentals. Like, I basically believe you need to take our basic positions, our 5 or 6 basic positions, top and bottom. So, when I say that, I'm talking, mount, rear mount, knee on belly, side control, guard. Take those positions top and bottom, learn how to get into them, learn how to escape them, learn your fundamental attacks from them, learn how to get out of those fundamental attacks, right? And everything else is built on that. With that said, I kind of blew my knee out a couple years back. Well, technically I blew my knee out 10 years ago, but it's been really bad for the past 2. And actually I just had surgery on it. So my first jiu-jitsu related surgery after 17 years. It's not too terrible. But I started really working the Leche guard. So Lucas Leche is multi-time world champion. My friend down in Tennessee, Ray Casillas, turned me on to the style of guard. And it was one of those things where I couldn't do it. I wasn't very good at it. And then so it drove me nuts. So I focused on it like really hard, and I got really good at it. And then when the knee got bad, it was actually a necessity because I couldn't use my left leg very well at all. So just holding like my knee would dislocate just holding closed guard, and so I had to play that real deep like outside hook. Yeah, so kind of a long way about. So I've definitely got some stuff I kind of specialize in, I guess. Like the Leche guard I'm pretty good at. Like obviously the Von Flue choke. I feel like I'm probably one of the best guys in the world at that. Peruvian necktie, like I really like it. I've got a lot of options off of it, but it's not a big part of my personal game. I got a pretty good guillotine game, I guess. But yeah, overall, man, I really believe that people need to focus on being good everywhere, at least having a very solid basic understanding of it. I don't care if you pass the guard standing. I don't care if you smash pass. I don't care if you work the half guard and only pass from half guard, or if you're a point player or you're a submission machine. Like if you're competing, then have a couple things you're really good at, but at the same time, like you've got to be able to expand, because what happens when those things you're really good at don't work? You've got to have plan B and plan C and plan D. Yeah.
It sounds like for you also, as an instructor, it's nice to know students are going to want to know how to do this. And a lot of times for myself, I was like, go ask this guy. He's good at that. That's not the way I pass the guard. I'm limited with what I could do, and this guy, he might be a couple of belt ranks lower than me, but he's going to be a better person to show you that technique.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like having the academy open for almost 17 years now, I've got a lot of guys, and we don't have the same styles at all. And that's another thing. Like you go to a lot of gyms, and you'll see like everybody in the gym rolls the same way, and that's. I always tell my guys, like, you need to teach the students jiu-jitsu. You need to teach them what they need to know, not what you want them to know. I hate going to a gym where everybody does the exact same jiu-jitsu, because, that shows me that the instructor's not showing fundamentals. He has no base. He's just showing guys what he does, and that doesn't work for everybody, I'm like 6 feet tall, 170 pounds. I'm not going to show my 330-pound guy who's, 5'2", my jiu-jitsu game. I'm going to show him jiu-jitsu that works for him.
I know you're talking about the gyms that everybody rolls the exact same way. And even, I think at basically all gyms, you'll see like a little echo or a little hint of their instructor in them. But, if you just learn the basics or show mostly that, the students, they're going to find their own game some way. And they're going to get interested in things and expand and develop from there.
Absolutely. And the footlock game is huge right now, right? Like everybody and their brothers going around doing all these footlock seminars, and, the Danaher Death Squad, like they've really kind of popularized it, and, and they're doing some very cool stuff. The way they're setting up stuff is really neat. They're their focus on certain little details is really good. Like, and I'm not knocking the footlock game at all, but I find it funny when, my guys, like good guys, and they come in and they're like, oh, yeah, I learned all these footlocks, coach. I've got something for you. And then I footlock them 7 times in one round. It's like, yeah, man, I know how to do jiu-jitsu. You know, I know footlocks too. I know knee bars, and I know how to heel hook. Like it's no big deal. But
yeah, that's funny. Looking forward, what are your goals with the Fight Hub?
Oh yeah, so we just keep expanding it, right? So the Fight Hub's my online store. So I've picked up quite a few other companies. So like we've got Rev Gear and Triumph now, looking at expanding, making the website, the cart a little easier to navigate, stuff like that. But as far as our own personal products, like we're going to expand into some, like we've done a couple gis and rash guards, and so I don't want to be a gear company by any means, but we'll have some Fight Hub branded stuff. But yeah, I think DVDs and I think video training is just the big area that the site's going to improve in. Right now I'm having it set up to where people can buy. So normally they can buy a physical DVD. We've got a couple products that they can buy on download, but we're setting it up to where they can also stream those products. They'll just log in with a member, like an ID from their purchases, and be able to stream the products. And then obviously we just continue expanding the library. I actually have probably about 11 or 12 or maybe even more like I don't want to call them DVDs, but instructionals that aren't even edited and put up yet. So I've got a lot of work cut out for me as far as, getting stuff edited and getting it on the site. We've got a school directory on there so people can get on and put their academy info, add some videos, add some pictures of their academy, which if you're an academy owner, you should do. It helps people find you. And then also our affiliate program. So they can actually just sign up for the Fight Hub affiliate program and have instant access to our website. They'll get their own affiliate link, and then they'll get at least 10% on anything purchased through their link. So anywhere from 10 to 40%, depending on the product. And that's really good for school owners that don't have a big inventory or can't inventory a lot. They can just say, oh, hey, here's my link. They can attach it to their Facebook. They can attach it to their YouTube page, to their emails. Technically, they could even buy a domain, like Jim's awesome jiu-jitsu site.com, and just direct the DNS to their affiliate link, and it'll take them straight to the Fight Hub, and all purchases go through that. So that's pretty much. I mean, it's pretty much done. I'm working on a couple little things for that, but yeah. So that's fun.
That'd be kind of a way to sell, like gis to new students type of thing. Like, hey, this link go. All these are going to be good gis for you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So the companies I work with are all really good companies. We've got, like I said, Rev Gear, Gameness, and Ring to Cage, Defense Soap, and tons of others, right? So like just a lot of companies, and so they're all good quality stuff. But a lot of the gyms, especially new jiu-jitsu gyms, they don't have that karate money, right? They don't have the big taekwondo bucks.
Yeah.
So they don't have this giant space where they can inventory all this stuff. They can keep it on hand, but they can go, hey, just here's my link. Go to this. You can order it, and then what happens is anything that goes wrong with if the gi's the wrong size, the gi tears, they contact the Fight Hub. So the instructor doesn't even have to deal with it at all. It's actually a really good program, and it's completely hands off, and it prevents the instructor from having to start accounts with all these different companies, or just having one company that we only deal with this company X, where now they have access to like 17 different companies, and they get a kickback on every single purchase made, and it's a good plan, and I've even started kind of marketing it to competitors. I get a lot of emails and stuff like, oh, I need help, I need sponsorship, and I know there's a couple like companies that'll go, oh, well, enter code John Smith competitor, and you'll get 5% off, but John Smith gets his little kickback on every order. Well, now John Smith can give his the Fight Hub affiliate link out, and he'll get an automatic 10% off. And it's not just one company, it's all the companies. So they have a huge, they have just a mass amount of products to choose from. And it can be anything from jiu-jitsu to kickboxing to MMA, even like karate and stuff like that. So
cool. James, I had, it's been a little while, maybe a year or so, but had Budo Jake on here and I asked him, what's the advantage for getting a DVD or a download done like professionally versus going to YouTube and trying to find the same thing? How would you answer that question?
So yeah, here's the problem with YouTube. Everyone can put stuff on YouTube. And everyone does not know what they're doing. I would say most people on YouTube don't know what they're doing. I've looked at some techniques by guys that have, 100,000 followers, and 90% of what they teach is absolutely wrong. Just technically, it's just off and it's wrong. And, there's not 100,000 people watching these wrong, horrible techniques, right? So also, it's hard to develop a full game on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like most guys aren't going to, like, let's say Budo Videos, right? They're a big company and they sell quite a few things from the Fight Hub. That's probably where you got the leg drag, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Instead of from the source. That's okay. No big deal.
I don't know.
But no, and we've got our stuff on quite a few sites. But so the thing is, like, if somebody's going to take time and professionally produce a DVD, they're not going to do it with Joe Schmo who trains out of his backyard, right? They're going to do it with somebody that has legitimate credentials. They're going to investigate. Like if again, Joe Schmo walked into a video production company. I was like, I want you to produce this video and I want to sell it and this and that. They're not just going to go, yeah, sweet, awesome, man, throw your gi on, let's do this. They're going to look into it. And with the DVD, number one, the picture's typically a little better. It's a little more transportable. And especially with now that we're able to do streaming and all that stuff, it's just as easily accessible as YouTube. But you also get to learn that game, right? So guys on YouTube, they show a move. And then a week later, they show another move. And typically, there's a huge disconnect in the teaching method. So with a video, like, for example, you said you started the Hingertine.
Yeah, I'm loving it so far.
Right. So, yeah, Hingertine, Josh and I sat down, and he was like, man, this is my baby. This is what I want to show. And obviously, Josh is a, huge name, huge competitor. Like I said, he just won No-Gi Worlds. He said, hey, this is what I want to teach. And we sat down and we taught it, step by step by step by step by step. Okay. Now, he also had, a second opinion, if you will, me, right? I'm black belt. I've done video stuff. So I got to sit down and go, okay, man, you taught this one a little bit out of order. Let's change the order up. And even post-production, I went back and moved a couple things around, so track 5 became track 9 and track 10 became track 5, right? So I moved them just to help with the flow a little bit better. And with something like YouTube where, it's just a guy here's my, my iPhone video of me doing a move. You don't get the detail. You don't get the level of instruction. You don't get that flow of the teaching. I think that's kind of the biggest part of it.
Yeah, those are all very good points, and definitely, even if you watch a YouTube video of a world-class competitor, you're just getting a little clip of it, and it's not necessarily done, poorly, but it may not be with you in mind or with, learning this from the beginning. And like Josh was showing why he developed it and how this little history behind it and all that was interesting to me as well, because I'm not going to develop that similar technique the same way, but I've done that in my game. I had this one guy who kept doing this to me, and I ended up finding a game to that, and just to see kind of why it happened. So, and just that example is he's showing that off of a low leg single, and now I'm going to be looking for that guillotine even more so when somebody tries to do that to me, and because I know that's has a history of the technique, and I know it's going to work very well from there. I don't know. I do find a lot of value watching DVDs and for help. I'm a little isolated here in Wichita, Kansas. We don't have get a million world-class competitors coming through and teaching stuff all the time. So to get this type of resource has been a help for me in my game for many years. Do you have any advice for somebody who's got a DVD and they want to, this is good for my game. I got the right DVD. How could I best incorporate this into what I'm doing on the mat? Do I sit at home and watch it all the way through one time, or do I try to? Is there some ways that you think is better to learn off of a DVD?
Yeah, for sure. So, man, how many techniques are on? Let's just keep using the Hanger Team DVD for example, right? So what is it, like 40 techniques? There's a lot, right? Like it's a lot of content. So go buy it, listeners. But no, it really, really is a lot of content. And you look at it and you're like, oh, it's a guillotine. It's like, yeah, it is a guillotine. But how many different variations of guillotine are there, right? Like, nobody looked at Marcelo Garcia and went, oh, it's just a guillotine. No, they went, oh, here's how he's doing it. This is all the amazing things he's doing with it, right? Like, so I think the Hingertine is, it's up there, right? It's a way of control. It's got a story behind it. There's reasoning behind it. Is it always the right move? No. But there's reasoning behind it. So when you're learning it, you're not going to watch the DVD all the way through and take notes on all 30, 40 techniques. You do 2, 3, right? Just get them in your head. So I'm huge on what I call game planning, okay? And we can talk a bit more about that in a minute. But just take a few techniques, 2 or 3, maybe 4, depending on how closely related they are. And while you're rolling, number one, I suggest before class, drilling those, right? Drilling those with a partner, and then that way it stays fresh in your head. You've kind of got your body mechanics behind it. You kind of set those techniques in motion, and then as you're rolling, focus on them, right? Go for those.
Yeah.
Like I always tell guys, so as I'm game planning, right? I always pick 3 to 4 top positions, 3 to 4 bottom positions, a couple techniques in each position that I want to work. I have them written down on paper. That way, if I can't remember the exact ones I'm doing, I can access that in between rounds, right? So if I am only doing standing passes, for example, okay? Oh, let's say if I am only doing Hingertine guard passes, right? Because he shows how to pass the guard using the guillotine. I'm not going to put myself in positions where I can't do that. And if I find myself in those positions where I can't do it, I work my way back into it, right? So if I want to pass half guard, I have to work my way to half guard. I'm not going to go with a double under pass, okay? If I want guillotines, I'm not going to go for arm bars the entire match, right? Even if it's there, even if it's like blatantly the guy's pushing me away and he's doing the old school, I never trained before ever, straight elbows. I don't want that. That's not in my game plan. I know how to do an arm bar. I'm trying these new techniques. And so I'm gonna forgo the easy thing, and I'm gonna work toward where I need to be to finish the stuff I'm actually trying to get better at. Yeah,
you're not just using time to roll just to roll in to have good matches. You're using that as deliberate practice, and you have things you're focusing on. I think there's good and there's bad, because in class you learn something. You get to try it maybe more times with a skilled opponent. At home, for me, I end up grabbing my wife and kind of walking through a few things, but she's not the same as the brown belt in class that I'm working on. Yeah. But the advantage is when I show up in class and nobody has a clue what I've been working on at the house. So a little bit of a little bit of plus and minus there. But absolutely. Fortunately, my wife trains jiu-jitsu, so she's usually the one asking me questions. It's like, let's move the table out, and I need you to work this with me. I'm like, sweet. Yeah, that's good. But it's just, for me, it's been an interesting way to just kind of bring new techniques. Like Tim Sled's leg drag DVD, I got that. I don't know if it's been a year or not, but it's been a little while. And I'm loving leg drags. They work well for me. But when I got that, people in my gym weren't doing very many leg drags, and now we've got several guys who are doing quite a few as well, and it just kind of brought that in for the group to people who are interested in it could try to pick it up from there, or go get the DVD themselves. But
yeah, for sure. When I I filmed and edited the Tim Sled leg drag workshop. See how I did the whole title there?
Nice.
When I edited that, and so and I edited the Hingertine, so I see these things more than anybody ever will. Nobody is going to watch that leg drag DVD more times than I've watched it, right? So instantly, guess what I'm working on? I'm instantly trying to leg drag, and I was already doing it a little bit anyway, but I picked up on it, right? So it was funny. Tim and I actually rolled probably a few months after the leg drag was out, and I caught him in a good leg drag, and he was like, "What the heck, bro? Come on!" He's like, "You've been watching my DVD?" We're kind of joking as we're rolling. I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "I've seen that thing 200 times," but it was just funny. That was my focus, and I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't like, "Oh, I'm gonna make sure to leg drag him." It just kind of organically happened while we were rolling, and we both kind of made a big joke about it. But yeah, I'm always I always tell my guys you shouldn't be winning in class, right? And what I mean by that is not I don't want you winning, but I don't want you just going in there to beat up your training partners, right? Your goal is not to get a tap, unless your goal is to get a specific tap, right? If you get a specific thing that you're working on, that's great. But, I can go in class and double leg somebody and lay on them for 5 minutes. And, okay, time's up. Cool. Yeah, I beat that guy. Awesome. I'm awesome. And I can go through, I've got our wrestling coach, Aaron Johnson, phenomenal wrestler. He spent 6 years at the Foxcatcher. He's won no-gi pans multiple times. He won no-gi worlds as a brown belt. He just won the USA Wrestling's new grappling thing. He just won their Pan Ams a couple months back. The guy is super legit. And I love rolling with him because I hate rolling with him, right? His wrestling's phenomenal. But guess what? He's pulling half guard on everyone, because he knows he can wrestle. He knows he can go in there and he can lay on somebody and he can smash on them. And he can walk through a class of 30 people and do that. But he wants to get better at jiu-jitsu, right? So every time I roll with him, he pulls half guard. And it's God, no, I need you to smash me. Come on. I want to work on getting out of your smash. But it's, and I love seeing guys like that, they don't always just roll to win. They roll to learn.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of that, when guys have a big competition coming up, I always give the "I'm not mad at you" speech, right? So if I'm training for a tournament, a month or two out, I'm in tournament mode every single match, and I'll tell the white belts hey guys, next couple months, don't grab me, blue belts and up, okay, you better bring it, and if I tap you 300 times in one round, I'm not mad at you. I'm training hard. I'm training to win, and maybe I lay on you and smash you and get an advantage, and that's all that happens for 5 minutes. But that's what I'm training for, So, again, I just tell them don't train to win, train to get better, unless times comes where you're training to win. Tournament time, we can train to win. That's fine.
Yeah, kind of. And it's important at that time to have a training to win. You don't really think about points when you and me are just rolling. I don't have a clue that I'm down 20 points, but if tournament time, I kind of need to be aware. Okay, he's passed my guard 4 times already. I've given up a lot.
Yeah.
I need to. I maybe should have fought that off a little better and denied a couple of those passes. But nobody wants to play for points either. While you're just training and rolling, but they might come into play. And if you don't have that mechanism to kind of keep scoring your head a little bit, or maybe be conscious to earn the points fully, it also might kind of get you in the long run. So it's not how you roll just to having fun and just to train it, even to focus on, I'm going to work on my guillotine. But come tournament time, that might be another thing you could change.
Yeah. Yeah, so the other night, a couple of nights ago, I don't know, a week ago, whatever, I was rolling with one of my blue belts. Good blue belt. He just won Master Worlds, and then so that was in Vegas. He drove to California and did the Gracie Worlds, won the gi division the next day, and then won the no gi division on Sunday.
Cool.
Legit blue belt, right? 3 world titles in one weekend. But we're rolling, and I don't know, it was near the end of the match, and I was like, I'm up 9. And he's like, what? I just said, I'm up 9. You better start going. He's like, we're keeping points. Like, I was like, yeah, man, we're keeping points. And he, after the match, he's like, I can't believe you were keeping points on me. And I was like, dude, like, we're training for tournaments. Like, of course I'm keeping points. Like, I don't care if I beat you by an advantage. Like, I'm fighting to win. And he's like, oh, okay, man. And it, but it was funny because he ended up having that same conversation with like 3 other guys. He's like, I guess we're all just keeping points now. And everybody's like, yes, like it's tournament time, man. We're keeping points. But, and he wasn't mad about it. He was just kind of joking. But he was just like, okay, I didn't realize. But also, I feel like a lot of guys will separate points as a tournament thing, right? And I always tell guys, like, points aren't necessarily a tournament thing. Like, points are a self-defense thing, right? So basic theory of jiu-jitsu is very simple. I take the fight to the ground. I dominate position where I can effectively attack without being attacked. And I finish the fight with a chokehold, an arm lock, or leg lock, okay? So what do points mean? They mean positional dominance. I've put myself where I want to be in an altercation, right? I take the fight to the ground. I get 2 points, okay? It's not 2 points when my life depends on it, but it's what I wanted to do. If I'm in a guy's guard in a self-defense scenario, I still want to pass. I'm not going to risk getting pushed away and having the guy stand up. I'm not going to risk this guy maybe knows jiu-jitsu, because a lot of people do now. I want to pass his guard. Knee on belly, dominant position. I can punch you in the face from there. I can elbow you. I can finish the fight. I want to be mount. I want to be rear mounted. Like, I want these positions on you. So in a self-defense situation, yeah, I'm going to rack up points. Why not? I'm going to take you down. I'm going to pass your guard, go knee on belly, mount you, pop you in the face a couple times. I'm going to take your back. And, right there, I've got 15 points, and I choke you unconscious. We both walk away. Not super injured. I'm way less injured than you are. But so the jiu-jitsu point system is a self-defense kind of system, right? Like it's based on where do I want to be in a fight. You also notice in jiu-jitsu we don't get points for escaping.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of people like, well, if you're in side control and I bump you and I come up on top, that should be a sweep. Except that you're in a bad position, right? So, my wife and I also run the Extreme Grappling Open, an ego tournament. If you're in side control, like if I'm on top of you in side control, I'm in a dominant position. I'm not in your guard. You don't really have attacks from there. If you just kind of bridge and fat boy roll me over, good for you. We actually award an advantage for that as an escape, if you will. Coming from bottom to top without the legs involved, without being able to attack, right? Same thing on a mount. If I'm mounted on you and you upa me, you get an advantage. But that's an escape because you were in an inferior position. That's not a sweep, So you're not going to be rewarded for getting out of a bad spot. In the street, your reward is, okay, you're not in as bad of a spot, but you got in that bad spot in the first place and you shouldn't have been there.
Yeah. It makes sense to, even if you're not wanting to compete, just to have those in mind. And for me, the biggest difference has been when somebody's near passing. It's like, oh, okay, I could work for my side control and just try to I should fight a little harder and keep my guard from getting passed. If there were points, it would be a big deal. If if I was self-defense, it'd be a huge deal if somebody can get side control on you.
Yeah. And I just talked to my class about that the other day. So like, what you find a lot of times is you get these high-level guys that don't do positional training, right? They don't let people put them in arm bars. They don't let people get their back. They don't let people get side control. They develop these amazing guards where nobody ever passes their guard. Typically what that means is their side control escapes suck.
Yeah.
Like, how many black belts have you seen in these, world tournaments, Pan Am, stuff like that, the top guy gets side control or he mounts them and they can't get out? Like, I would be embarrassed, like I would honestly, I've never had somebody get a position on me I didn't escape. Never, not once, ever, at any level. Like, I was embarrassed enough that somebody got a position on me, let alone to sit there and just cry. Like, no, man, I don't care how good you are, you have to train that stuff. Even just the other day, we're like Sunday, right? We have competition training. And I was going hard, man. I was doing well. I'm fresh off knee surgery. I'm moving better than I've moved in years. And finally, they just stopped the class and they're like, all right, everybody has to start in a dominant position on you. So it started out like, I'm going to start side control. I escape, boom. Okay, we're going to start rear mount. I escape. And then it's like, okay, starting a full-blown triangle. Okay, starting a full-blown armbar, but I'm fine with that because I know how to get out of those things. I know how to escape an armbar. I know how to get out of a triangle, and I'm very good at getting out of those things. So in a match, if I get caught in something, I don't just tap and give up and cry about it. Like, no, I fight and I get out of it and I keep going, So you've got to do that bat position training, like no matter how good everything else is.
Yeah. So, looking over here, kind of things we talked about today, James, looking at like Josh's DVD and Tim's, like they want to show, I think Josh, I want to show this is my baby. This is something I worked very hard on. Years and years of work and thought went into these techniques he's going to share in one DVD. He really wants it to be the best possible thing he could do. But it seems like most DVDs, vast majority of DVDs are offensive tools, like his guillotine, a guard pass. Is there just not the market for, how to get out of side control type of a DVD, how to get someone off your back? Is that people not excited to pick that up and, yeah. Is that what it is?
I really honestly believe that's what it is. And we can go back to people don't focus on defense as much. So I'll tell you, at my academy, we run a curriculum. We call it the Foundation Curriculum. And it goes through what I talked about. We take the basic positions, top and bottom. You learn how to get in them. You learn how to get out of them. You learn how to get the submissions, and you learn how to escape them, right? So about every 3 months, 3 or 4 months, we go through the offense, and then we go through the defense. Well, as I'm teaching the defense, if we have new guys in that have never done the move, they have to learn the move. So, it works out where those guys, they get to learn how to do the move, and then the guys learn how to escape it. But, man, I am huge on defense. Actually, I taught a seminar, so it'll probably be up on the Fight Hub at some point. But it was, again, for marketing purposes, escapes into submissions, right?
Yeah.
So every rear mount escape I did, every side control escape I did, it was how to get out and get to a submission. And some of it was simple stuff like, I do my very basic side control escape into an ankle pick, and then I leg lock them. You know what I mean? So it was at least teaching the fundamental escape, and then just showing like, hey guys, think about this, but this submission that's really close to that, right? And I love that kind of stuff because I train a lot of competitors, and sometimes you're just down, right? You're just down on points, and there's, you might be down 15-0, and there's 30 seconds left. Well, guess what? You have to tap that person. I don't care who you are. You can't get 15 points in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like that, you need at least 45 seconds, right? Like, because there's got to be a 3 count on everything. So you've got to be able to submit somebody. And oftentimes when guys have a dominant position on you, their guard's just a little bit down. If I'm mounted on you, I don't expect to get submitted. If I've got your back, I don't expect to get submitted. But if you can hit a quick escape and land that submission, then yeah, good for you. And again, like that's one of those areas I think people should be training. Like I'm very big in being kind of a jack of all trades. Like you can master, and you can be a jack of all trades and still master a few.
Yeah.
But
I think escapes are great. Just, we're going to get stuck in places, but I think, having somebody in side control for 5 minutes straight kind of sucks the fun out of jiu-jitsu for a little while. But if I could get out of that, then hey, I'm back to having my fun again. It just makes it a little more rewarding and gives you something to do as well versus just kind of I'm struggling. I don't really know what to do. You gotta work on your escapes.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe I'll use that in the in marketing my next escape DVDs. Like don't get caught here. It sucks the fun out of it. It's just fun again.
Yeah, I mean I think it's a common frustration for new people to just okay, today I'm working on I'm going to learn the triangle choke, and you try one triangle choke and you spend 5 minutes with somebody in top side controller mount. It's like, well, that sucked. They had the idea of focusing their training while they were rolling, and none of that happened.
Yeah. And I always tell guys, like, when you're developing your game plans, definitely put bad spots in there. And if I'm working on my mount escapes, that's easy. Like, I can lay there and let somebody mount me. Everyone's going to do it.
Yeah.
And try to get out. And the thing about that focus training, that game plan type training, is when it doesn't work, you can go to your coach and be like, hey, here's exactly what I was trying. Here's exactly how I was trying it, and it didn't work. As opposed to, I hate when people come up and they're like, hey, can you show me how to pass guard? And I go, well, what passes are you using? I don't know. Can you just show me how to pass guard? No. I can show you some guard passes, and we can develop from, those specific techniques. But I can't just teach you to pass guard. Like, there's, 8 million different guard passes and teeny tiny little variations, and it's going to depend on what kind of guard. Like, I can show you the fundamental guard passes, and now we start from there, right? So if my single under to double under to knee slide combination isn't working, now we can pinpoint exactly where it's not working and why. So, just by having that kind of focus training, that game plan training, it not only helps you develop, your technique, but it helps your coach be able to pinpoint what you're doing wrong and to add to it, like, okay, now you've got these passes and you're really good at them and you're hitting everybody with them. So let's mix it up a little bit. Let's start adding a couple extra things. And it makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier as a coach to be able to, approach it like that. And it makes it a lot easier to learn with that approach, I think.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong.
Well, it's much easier if a student says, help me with my pass, and then they say, here's what I do so far. And the student does this every time. I put my leg like this, I start to push here, and I go here, and then, okay, this is all consistent, and it's good so far, but the next step is where I run into trouble, or whatever. But opposed to them just randomly trying to pass the guard with stuff and having trouble, it's hard to help that person without that focus, and they can't recreate that while they're trying to show you what they're doing wrong or trying to get help in a certain part. So that does help with the long-term being able to be taught, because you can communicate what's happening to the instructor better.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, James, I've had a lot of fun getting to know you here and talking with you about a lot of different things. Do you have maybe some final thoughts for the audience?
I'm going to assume most people listening are doing jiu-jitsu. Not just some random person listening to a jiu-jitsu podcast. So just don't get discouraged. Keep training. Use that game plan method. If you start getting discouraged, and just realize that no matter how good somebody is, they've had their peaks and valleys. Everybody's jiu-jitsu plateaus for a while, and I come in some days and I just wreck everybody, and then other days like I can't get it together. But so, number one, just realize that, like, it's not just you. It's not just you at all. Like, everybody, even the best guys in the world, they have their bad days too. Sometimes they have their bad months. But, just focus on stuff. And when you feel like your jiu-jitsu is getting stagnant or stale, just switch your focus up a little bit. Try some new techniques. Try adding some follow-ups to some things you're already doing well. And, keep jiu-jitsu fun. I always go by the 3 E's. Every jiu-jitsu class, I have to have the 3 E's when I'm teaching, and I look for them when I'm taking a class, right? And those 3 E's are real simple. Education, so I should either be teaching or be taught something. Entertainment, like, it's got to be fun. Class has to be fun. I don't like teaching a boring class, so I'm going to make even the most boring thing fun for the class. And then exercise, like, I should be sweaty after every class. I should be sweating, right? So, if as a student you're not learning anything, you're not having fun, or you're not getting exercise, is it on you or is it on your coach? Like, you've got to make those adjustments. And then as a coach, like, I'm constantly myself. Like I believe in as people we should constantly be evolving. So I'm always learning new jiu-jitsu. I'm always learning new business tactics. I'm always learning how to be a better instructor and how to teach. And I look at my class and I go, well, what could I have done better? And if ever, like those 3 E's, the education, the exercise, and the entertainment, if those 3 things didn't happen during a class, then I failed that class. And so every single class, like my guys better be sweaty. I better have shown them something. Even, I've got black belts that come to my white belt class. And, if they've got the move mastered, I show them something else. I show them a different grip. I show them a small variation. I show them a follow-up. So, you can always be learning something, even in the most fundamental class. It doesn't matter. But
that's cool. I like the 3 E's. I'd say that we have the same goal for the podcast: education, entertainment, exercise. We like people to stay sweaty, but
hey, I'm sitting in my sauna right now. Like,
all right. Well, thank you for participating in the third and probably the most challenging E of the podcast.
Yeah.
But hey, I've had a pleasure, and I look forward to talking with you in the future, and look forward to new stuff you're putting out.
Sure, awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, I'd like to thank James for taking time out to come on our show and drop knowledge to us and all our listeners. I know everybody definitely is going to be better for here in this interview.
Yep. James actually has sent a couple of DVDs our way. So I reviewed Tim Sled's DVD, which James is selling on his website. He produced it. And also the Hingertine DVD. Tim's is about leg drags, guard passing, and the Hingertine, which is about an arm in guillotine. The reviews are up on our YouTube channel, going strong and definitely helping people decide if this is the right thing for them. But he sent us a few more, and so those very generous of him to do. Hopefully, will help him out a little bit as well. But I bought the Tim Sled DVD. I bought the Hingertine DVD. So, those I was definitely excited to get. But these he's sending me, I'm also excited to see and review and learn other games. But just a heads up, I'll mention it during the videos that those are provided for review purposes. And excited that he's, kind of a fun little partnership where I'm able to review more DVDs for people to consider and just to grow the YouTube channel a little bit there as well.
Yep, and like I said last week, and I'm not making this up just to promote Byron's reviews and people to buy the Hingertine DVD, but I did Wednesday night. I trained with Byron, and I got caught in the Hingertine. The week before, Byron stops on my offense with a Hingertine, and kind of frustrated me the week before, and then I got caught in it the next week, and I was like, boy, this Hingertine's kind of tough to deal with. So then I get home and I log on to the internet and I see Byron's review of the Hingertine DVD. And I sat there and watched, I think it was 14 or 15 minutes. I actually watched the whole thing, Byron. I was pretty impressed with it. And I had no clue Byron had made this. I wasn't around when he made it. He just posted it and I just watched it. And I kid you not, as soon as it was over, I logged on to Fight Hub and I ordered the download to the Hingertine DVD. So, just from Byron, and, it's a person I trust. I trust, what Byron's saying. I've seen it work against me by Byron. And I was like, well, I'd like to work that. And, I could have Byron show me everything, and he would have done that. But, hey, I look at it, it's such a small investment to learn something that I now have access to all the time. And, these guys put out this information. They help us out. They help all us people who do jiu-jitsu, and it's never, a bad investment to throw some money to these guys' way to help them out and make their lives a little bit better, because they're definitely helping me out. And I've learned a lot from DVDs I've purchased, and they've really changed my game. I don't have access to travel all the time and go visit people, so this is the next best way to do it, I guess.
Yep, I definitely have enjoyed training from DVDs as well. So definitely a tool to have available and something to be considered.
Yep. And like, we started talking about Byron's reviews, check out our social media, our YouTube channel. Byron does those reviews. He does some question and answers. Check out our Facebook page. check out our website, bjjbrick@gmail.com. If you would have checked it out here a couple weeks ago, you might have been in for a surprise. But somebody actually hacked our site and put up some transvestite porn.
Great. And, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And if anybody knows us, we wouldn't have put up transvestite porn, maybe animal and, stuff like that, but definitely not transvestite. So that should give you a hint that it was not us.
Yeah. So let's talk about this a little bit. The BJJ Brick was hacked. I was really fortunate to get a couple of our listeners or people that go to the website to send me a message right away. Say, hey man, your site's been hacked. Go check it out. As I stand there at work, I type it in, pull it up, and I'm like, oh my, and immediately call our.
Okay, hold on. I do want to change that around. That's not exactly how it happened. Okay. A couple of the guys in the firehouse with Byron, actually texted me and let me know what happened. So Byron actually pulled it up and saw, the porn that was on there, and Byron was transfixed to the screen, they said, for like the next hour straight. So that's what I was told. That's what I was told, but I don't know if that's true or not. This has been a very frustrating experience. Gary, we've worked very hard on this website, very hard on the podcast, and then it was just basically taken away from us by somebody who just wanted to put this up there. And it was most likely a bot that was able to hack our site and put this up. Like, we're busting our butts to make this podcast to sell transvestite porn. Really not the game plan here, Gary. That's not what we're doing. Yeah. But the crazy thing is, we actually had 5 or 6 people email us wanting to know where we could get that DVD, and they were going to pay for it. So we could be in the wrong line of business.
Gary, I'm sure we're in the wrong line of business, but I don't know if that's the right line for us either. But honestly, this was a very trying week for us, and getting some emails and some hang in theirs and some the Patreon definitely helped. It cost a couple $100 to get the website back up and running, and a little bit of a lesson learned here. I called right away and I said, "We're taking this down. We got to take the whole site just down. If we can't get it off there, we just got to. I don't want people to go to our site and see this." And that was step one. So as soon as basically possible, yanked it down, and then talked to them about getting it fixed. And then they called them again the next day and tried to get it fixed. And okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're working on it. Okay. Again, called later that day, nothing. And just people trying to help, doing their best. It wasn't until late in the second day or maybe the third day, I got somebody. Let me patch you through to our one of our security guys. And I was like, yes, finally I'm getting somebody who's expert at this. And he had it fixed before I hung up the phone. And that's just a lesson that getting the right person to help you fix the right problem is huge. Whether, you want a kids program and you contact Corbett Miller, or you're wanting, a DVD to sharpen a particular part of your game, getting the right one is huge. So when I got the right guy on the phone, he didn't hang up the phone. He stayed with me and got the site back up and running. And definitely an experience that I don't want to have happen again. We put some measures in place to prevent it, and so moving forward, definitely there were thoughts in the back of my head. Hey, I think we're done. I don't want to continue to deal with this. This is so frustrating. But we're back up and running, Gary, or at least rolling, and things seem to be going good here. And appreciate all the support of the community. Audiobooks and occasional emails that, hey, enjoyed the show. All the reviews definitely were encouraging to kind of look at those as I was dealing with these frustrations. And so we got it cleaned up. Good news is anything that we sell, like our audiobook or the Patreon stuff, that's on other sites that are super secure. I'm an amateur running a website, so that this is as secure as I can make it. But if you go support us on Patreon, that's it's like eBay or Amazon, it's secure. If you go buy audiobook, that's on a very secure thing that they sell digital media. So it's all set up much safer than the BJJbrick.com was. But hopefully it's stronger now moving forward.
Yep. And so you will understand when you roll with Byron after this episode with the transvestite porn. It'll now make sense when you get on the mat with him and he's got on his black gi pants, his black belt, and a black leather zippered mask. You'll understand now why he wears that mask. So just in that way, you won't be surprised when you see it happening.
Yeah, we didn't mention that Gary was one of the big stars on the thing.
Yeah, I actually got a couple reviews over that.
Oh man. Well, all that being said, definitely took some out of our momentum as far as the bank account goes. Definitely super happy to have our Patreon supporters, some of our more recent ones here, Mark, Shakri, and David. I think David's our newest one. Definitely huge fans and definitely supporters of the show. When something like this pops up, it's great to have a little bit of reserve to help tackle the problem. I don't know if I could have got this fixed without spending extra money at this. So huge support. Patreon has definitely helped keep BJJbrick.com up and running, and that it's good to be back, Gary. It was a rough couple of days, and we're back.
We are back, literally. Yeah. Hey, and also, since you're listening to this show, that means you probably enjoy Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or you kind of got fooled because you logged on last week and thought this show was about transvestite porn. And so if that is your goal, you probably don't want to tell people about this show because they probably won't enjoy it. But if you do enjoy Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, let all your friends know. Please tell a friend about us. The biggest form of flattery we can get is when somebody says, hey, I just started listening to your show. My buddy Bill from Jiu-Jitsu class told me all about it and said, you guys are great. And that's just awesome. That's probably the best pat on the back we could ever get. And so if you like this show or know anybody who likes Jiu-Jitsu, let them know about it. Share a link to them or share a link with them or just let them know about it. And we would really, really appreciate that.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit about getting the right person to help fix the problem. Next week, we have Dr. Jen Case, BJJ black belt, and a nutritionist. So, you really can't go wrong there. What a great combination. She might be helping you hugely in multiple areas of your game and off the mat living as well. So, really happy to bring Dr. Jen Case to the podcast next week. As always, stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.